Today is new bike day. That's always a great day. So I just received my Trek Checkpoint Gentry ALR4. It's already modded out and we're gonna talk about the modifications that I did to it and why did I do that. So the big question that I'm getting asked already is, why am I downgrading bikes? Why am I going from a carbon, lighter, snappier frame to a heavier, slower alloy frame? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First is I got sucked into the racing, speed, fast sided gravel, which is not something that interests me at all, and it is not the type of riding that I do. What you have to know is that I like to ride more on a contemplative side, take my time, take pictures, go slower, chit chat, enjoy the scenery, be in nature. The second reason is when I'm gonna sell my SL5, I'm gonna take the money from that sale and actually put it aside to go traveling. I would love to go traveling to Denver, Colorado, to Iceland. The third reason is pretty simple. I have Shimano CUES on my commuting bike and I freaking love it. The climbing ability of this bike is better than the original Gen3 SL5. I still have a 42 chainring at the front, but I have an 1150 cassette at the back. On a personal note, and I don't know why, but I'm scared of traveling with a carbon bike. So I decided to go with an alloy version. This way, when I go bikepacking abroad or in other countries, I won't be as scared to put my bike either in a box or a proper bike bag. The Trek Checkpoint Gentry ALR4 is the mid-tier alloy gravel bike at Trek. I find the ALR4 variant of the Checkpoint to be a very good value proposition, but it does have some super great hits and some pretty important misses. So we're going to be looking at those right now. One of the things that I like is that the ALR4 has the same endurance geometry as the SL5. I love the geometry. I'm very comfortable on it. I can do some really big days. The other day I actually went on a 170-kilometer gravel ride just to test my body out, and I finished the ride and I was still comfortable and not aching too much. I say aching too much because I'm 44 going on 45, so with time my body can feel some pain, that's for sure. And when you spend over 5 hours on the bike, well, you're gonna have some discomfort. This Gentry alloy version of the Checkpoint has a tire clearance of 50 millimeter. And for me, that's pretty important because that's pretty much the minimum width that I'm gonna run for tires. I like having bigger tires to be more comfortable, and also because it gives me some confidence having a bigger tire. I am a mountain biker at heart, so a wider tire at the front inspires confidence. This bike is equipped with the new Shimano CUES 11-speed, which is awesome. I get a 42 chainring at the front and I have 1150 cassette at the back, which gives me a very, very potent climbing ability. So I have a big climb coming up of about 3.75 kilometers where I'm gonna be going up about 120 meters. So that's a lot of elevation gain in a short distance, and that's something that I love about this bike. The bigger cassette at the back allows me to climb hills easier and more comfortably. I'm not going to be burning myself out. I'm not going to be burning matches just to go up hills. Now, if you're looking at the Checkpoint Gentry alloy version, you might wonder, why did I go with the ALR4 and not with the ALR3 or the ALR5? Well, first of all, ALR3 comes with some pretty basic brakes which are cable actuated, and I've never been very comfortable braking with those. I find they lack power. Why I didn't go with the ALR5 version is that it has the same SRAM Apex drivetrain that I have on my Checkpoint Gen3 SL5. I want to get away from that drivetrain because I want a mechanical drivetrain so I don't have to worry about charging batteries when I go out and go ride for weeks and weeks on end. Also, the new Shimano CUES offers a lot better braking than the SRAM Apex that I have on my Gen3 SL5. When I'm in the hoods, I can actually have enough power, just one finger braking on the Shimano CUES, which is not the same story on the SRAM Apex. One more thing that I love about the Shimano CUES drivetrain are the hoods. The Apex and 12-speed wireless group sets from SRAM, the hoods would finish in the middle of my palm here, and now the Shimano go all the way back. So I don't have a line in the middle of my hand. My whole hand is covered with the hoods, and they're very, very ergonomics and comfortable. Now, I could have just upgraded to the 13-speed in the SRAM AXS family, and I would have had the longer hoods like this, and I would have had more comfy levers. But that's not my goal. My goal was to have a entry-level gravel bike to travel the world. This alloy bike is UDH. Why is that important? They used to be proprietary, so if you'd have an incident and you're far from your bike shop or a shop that actually carries that bike, well, you were screwed. Now with the universal derailleur hanger, first of all, always carry a spare on you when you go on big, epic rides. But second of all, let's say you have really bad luck and you break 2 derailleur hangers, well, you can easily find one because these are universal and pretty much all bike shops will carry at least a couple of spares. I love the routing of the cables at the front. They're not fully integrated, so you can change your handlebar easily or your stem, but they go in the head tube, so they are clean and snug and kept away from your handlebars. Why is that important to me? It's not to be more aero. It's not because, yes, I do find it looks cleaner and it's pretty pleasing to the eye, but most importantly for me is that if I fall, I don't have a cable that's gonna snag on a rock or a tree or stuff like that. The blender system is very simple, and it's something that Trek does very well. You buy some plastic adapters, you slide it in your stem, and then you can actually use your Garmin on top and have a light at the bottom, and it doesn't add a lot of weight, and it keeps the cockpit very clean. One thing that I love about this bike for bike packing is that it has a lot of mounting points available. I already put the top tube bag on it, the frame bag on it. I'm ordering a saddle bag. I'm also ordering a rear rack. That way when I go bike packing, I'm gonna be fully equipped. I don't wanna go too big in bags and all that stuff because I don't wanna carry too much gear. I'm gonna start with some small overnighters and then gradually lengthen my rides from there. Although this is more on the entry level of a gravel bike, well, the bar tape is actually quality and comfortable. It's not coarse, cheap bar tape that's gonna rip or get used very quickly. It's actually decent bar tape, so that is a plus on that side. The last thing that I find Trek does very well on this bike is that they moved away from a very polluting way of doing alloy bikes to a less polluting way of doing alloy productions for their bikes. That for me is something that I can get behind because the environment is something important to me because I like to go play in nature. Let's talk about the misses. Well, first of all, this bike is going to be 4 to 5 pounds heavier than my SL5 variant once it was all built. That's a pretty big difference because my SL5 was like 17.5 and this one is 22.4 pounds, which is a lot heavier. One thing that I'm gonna miss on the alloy version is that there's no in-frame storage. I don't know why Trek didn't go that route because the Specialized Diverge has it and I find it very useful. We are left with two things that I find Trek really missed on this bike, but I can understand. It is all about cost cutting because they want to make a bigger margin. And the most important factor on a bike is your tires, and the Gironas that come on this bike are slow as beep. Incredible. That's the first thing you want to swap out of this bike because these tires really suck. The second thing that really sucks is what these tires are mounted on. For me, I will never understand why manufacturers cheap out on wheels and on tires. Those are the two most important components that change the whole ride. You can have a super cheap bike and have amazing tires and you're gonna be in love. And you could have an amazing bike with super bad tires and you will hate it. Now, if you follow this channel, you know I've been riding some deep carbon AliExpress wheels that I love and I've been raving about. So why don't I have those wheels on this bike? Well, I have to say that I have a sponsor for my French mountain bike channel and they sponsored this set of wheels. These wheels are the brand new Reserve G30 AL. So these are 30 millimeter deep, 27 millimeter wide internally, and they are alloy. They weigh 1,650 grams and they are mounted to bomb-proof hubs, and I'm talking about DT Swiss 350. I'm never gonna have any issues with these hubs and they're easy to rebuild and you can find some parts for them anywhere in the world. These wheels have a lifetime warranty even for crashes. The reason I accepted this sponsorship is that I actually wanted alloy wheels for this bike, because if you bend an alloy wheel, you can actually take a rock or something and just smash it to try to get it back straight and either keep your tubeless or use a tube in it. But if you crack a carbon rim, you are stuck. And for all you hooked rims lovers out there, know that this wheel is a semi-hooked. So it's not a full hook and it's not a full hookless rim. So tubeless installation is a breeze and you can feel very confident that your tire is going to stay on there. For me, it doesn't matter because I don't run high enough pressures to actually have an issue with hookless rims. I've been riding hookless rims on my fat bikes, on my gravel bike, on my mountain bikes without any issues, so I'm not worried about that. Would I do it on road wheels? Probably not. I've said it before, the Bontrager Girona tires that come on this bike actually suck, and they suck the energy out of you. I'm not kidding. They were tested at like plus 40 watts on rollingresistance.com, and that is huge. My mountain bike tires are faster than that. It's pretty incredible. I decided to go with the Schwalbe G1 RX Pro in 50 millimeter. This is the perfect example of why I chose the Schwalbe G1 RX Pro in 50 millimeters. I will not know what kind of conditions I'm going to be riding in, and this tire is very capable and fast. If you look at rollingresistance.com and you look at the 45 millimeter width, you're going to see that the RX uses 18 watts and that the RS, the slick center tire, uses 19.2 watts. So this tire is actually a touch faster, but I have big knobs to be able to grip and get traction in all sorts of conditions. Also, one more thing that I noticed is when you're riding on the G1 RX Pro, you're gonna see that when you run fast enough, if you look at your tire, it looks like you have a center slick tread line on which you're rolling. So that keeps it very fast when the bike is upright. When you lean it over, the knobs are there to give you grip. So I really love this tire. I already had that set of tires at home because I tested it on my previous gravel bike, and I really love these tires. The Schwalbe G1 RX Pro 50 millimeter wide, mounted on the Reserve G30 alloy wheels, which are 27 millimeter internals, actually measure 50 millimeter. So I am running 25 psi in the front and 27 psi in the back. I weigh 205 pounds, and I'm guessing that this bike, with my water and my food and my camera gear, is probably around 28 to 30 pounds. So I use the system weight of 235 pounds to calculate my pressures on the Silca tire pressure calculator. The reason I'm going only 50 millimeter is because I don't know where I'm gonna run, I don't know when I'm gonna hit mud and stuff like that, so I want to have a lot of clearance around the tire so that it can actually run and not get stuck with mud. Now these tires and these wheels actually went on very well for tubeless installation. At like 20-22 pounds of pressure, it actually popped and the whole bead was already seated, so that's pretty cool. I can have faith in this setup. I know it's gonna hold there and I know it can take a beating. Not having that ISO speed, I decided to go with a split seat post that I had lying around at home, and that will help with some comfort. I'm using once again the Specialized Roman Evo Pro saddle in 155 width because that saddle fits me like a glove. I can actually go on the bike for 6, 7, 8 hours and still be very comfortable on it. So for me, that's my holy grail of a saddle, and I hope you find one just like that for yourself. One thing that I also love about this saddle is that it doesn't have a full cutout channel, so that means when you're riding in mud or rain, well, that water is not coming back to your ass or your genitals because it's not fully cut out. That for me is something that is important. You might not notice it, you might not think about it, but when you're gonna be running in a puddle, then you're gonna remember what I just said. I always come back to Shimano SPD pedals. They're reliable, they're heavy duty, they're well built, and it allows me to use mountain bike shoes which I can walk around in stores or on the ground and not sound like a tap dancer just walking around. So those are the modifications that I did to my Trek Checkpoint Gentry ALR4 bike. And the reasons why I decided to go with this bike is pretty simple. It clears big 50 millimeter tire. The endurance geometry at Trek is very comfortable for me. I find that this bike offers good value for the package all around except for the wheels and the tires. And this bike is equipped with a decent drivetrain that will allow you to climb hills easier and has good hydraulic brakes. So that's it. My Trek Checkpoint Gen3 SL5 bike is for sale. So I'm going to be selling that, taking that money, putting it aside for my trip in Iceland. For everyone that watches this channel, if you live in an amazing place to ride bikes and gravel bikes, let me know if you're willing to host me. I would go to your place for at least 1 or maybe 2 weeks and just ride around and discover the area. We could ride together and just have a blast. I'm looking to go to Colorado, in the eastern provinces of Canada like Nova Scotia and PEI. I would like to go to Vermont. I would love to go Iceland bikepacking. I would love to go in Europe and all that stuff. So if you're ever willing to host me up, and let's have fun on the bike, let me know. Just comment below and we'll reach out and be in communication and talk this out. This is a new route to me, so I've never done it. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what kind of riding it's gonna be. And right now with all the leaves, it's pretty hard to see. So I'm gonna go slow, not to hurt myself. On this note, I'm gonna wish you to enjoy the thrill of your rides.